Well, hello everyone. Welcome to tonight's edition of the Goldie Show live stream with me, your host, Goldie Ghamari. Welcome everyone. And I do apologize for running a little bit late. I had a few things that I had to attend to, but I am here now and just in time because I'm about to tune in to Sean Hannity because I'm very interested to see what he has to say about all of the developments. And then, of course, we're going to get into the developments as well. And we're going to do a deep dive into whether or not the Islamic regime is at its end. And I really do believe that we are at the beginning of the end of the Islamic regime. And I will explain why. So get settled in, grab a drink. My drink tonight is mango flavored bubbly. I don't know if you can see that. There you go. Mango flavored bubbly. It's basically Americans, you guys call it seltzer water, but for me, or as Canadians, we call it sparkling water. So let's dive right in while we're waiting for Sean Hannity to begin soon. President Trump just had a media session and he had a bit of a Q&A, which we are going to review as well. But again, I am waiting for Sean Hannity, so I kind of want to watch that and, kind of base my the rest of my analysis on what is happening and what is being said on Fox News. Because as I've mentioned before, Sean Hannity is one of the people that's really close to President Trump. Sean Hannity, Mark Levin, Maria Bartiromo are some of the three top key media personalities who seem to have President Trump's ear. And that means something. Because one thing I've noticed is that the things that they say, President Trump pays attention to. And this is something really interesting that Mark Levin actually posted just a few hours ago. So Mark Levin, let me pull this up here. So Mark Levin posted a couple of hours ago, let me try it this way. The Iranian regime's ideology does not allow it to abandon its reason for existence. It believes that Allah compels it to do whatever it takes: cheat, lie, deceive, imprison, torture, and murder, if it means survival and furtherance of its revolution. And that's exactly the message that myself and Armin, we have been trying to convey to all of you and everyone who has been watching, both individually and separately on our channels, but also through Iran Revolution Live. And this is why you can never, ever trust anything that the Islamic regime is saying. And based on what I'm seeing from President Trump, and the way he's sort of responding to questions and the way he's answering these questions, I have a feeling that President Trump is on the same page as Mark Levin. Because President Trump, looking at his Truth Social posts, he seems to have war on his mind. And he seems to understand that the only way to end the threat of the Islamic regime once and for all is by exterminating them. I mean, President Trump, even today, he called them out for what they are, a bunch of lunatics. I'm just checking his Truth Social, making sure there's nothing else there. Nope, nothing else there. So again, one thing that I want to bring your attention to, I mean, here's the thing, just scrolling through President Trump's, oh, I think Sean Hannity began. Let's go to Sean Hannity.
Lance Bottoms, a name we have not talked a lot about, but the most closely watched race of the night, well, that comes out of Kentucky's 4th Congressional District. Right there, you have incumbent Tom Massie. He has now been defeated by Trump-endorsed challenger Ed Gowrine. Now, Massie has represented this red pro-Trump district for 14 years now, but has recently become an outspoken critic and regular opponent of the Republican agenda and the Republican Party, oftentimes voting with Democrats to stonewall the president's agenda. For example, his vote against the March 2025 continuing resolution, the one big beautiful bill, the largest tax cut in history. His vote for the against the Iran and Venezuela war by supporting war powers resolutions, repeatedly voting against any aid to Israel. Tonight, the voters of Kentucky's 4th District, well, they took advantage of this opportunity to right the ship. They delivered for former Navy SEAL and endorsed candidate, as we just told you, Gowrine, who will join us later in the program tonight for an exclusive interview. His background is amazing. Navy SEAL, incredible guy. I think you'll enjoy meeting him. Also, ahead of next Tuesday's high-profile Texas Senate runoff, President Trump announced his endorsement today of Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton over.
So really quickly, guys, the fact that Massie was very outspoken against, the conflict or the excursion to Iran, and the fact that Massie was against going after the Islamic regime, all you heard in the fake stream media is that, oh, like this is going to ruin MAGA. President Trump's going to lose, he's going to lose support. As you can see, in fact, it's the opposite because, polls are not that reliable. Ultimately, what matters is the ballot box. And as you can see, people have shown what they think about President Trump's foreign policy decisions when it comes to the Islamic regime, when it comes to Venezuela, through the ballot box. And they're in support because, having been a politician myself, I'm very familiar with, elections and how they run and all of that. Guys, it's not an easy feat to overthrow an incumbent, especially an incumbent who has been there for 14 years. So the fact that an incumbent of 14 years was just defeated, that's a big deal. And that is a huge sign. So you cannot take that lightly.
pick off Thomas Massie, and he's really been a target for some time there. Also in the state of Georgia, I'll take you over here to the Senate race. Andy Barr, you might remember him as a congressman around the Lexington area. He wants to replace Mitch McConnell, an easy winner tonight. It was a three-way race. Again, in Kentucky, you just need a simple majority. You don't have to get that 50% threshold. So Andy Barr with almost 60%.
Oh. Oop. We're having some technical difficulties. Let me see if I can find another channel here. One moment, guys. Here we go.
General in Georgia. He was the first person in the state legislature to endorse Donald Trump, Sean, in 2015. Quite the claim. Rick Jackson, very much a newcomer to politics, raised poor in Fulton County, made a lot of money in healthcare. He's a billionaire. He's funding his own campaign. But Burt Jones got the endorsement on behalf of the president, which means so far tonight, he's 3 for 3 out of the White House in endorsements so far and getting people over the line. And we'll see whether or not Burt Jones can beat Jackson in 4 weeks from tonight. There is one other race tonight out in Idaho. Polls don't close there until 11 o'clock. Brad Little wants to be the governor in Idaho. He needs a simple majority as well. So we'll get those results much later tonight, probably around midnight our time here on the East Coast. But right now, when the president puts his thumb on the scale of these elections, much as he did on Saturday, right, with Julia Letlow endorsing her and knocking Bill Cassidy out of a Senate primary, it's something else, and perhaps it portends something that will happen a week from today after the endorsement of Ken Paxton, who's trying to defeat John Cornyn in Texas. Very, very interesting developments. I'm sure the White House is very happy with what they're seeing so far, Sean.
I think you're right, Bill Hemmer. We'll come back to you throughout the evening for any breaking developments. By the way, it was great to see you in China as well. All right, here now with more on his massive victory over Thomas Massie. We have Republican nominee for Kentucky's 4th Congressional District, Ed Galrine is with us. Ed, you're a 5th-generation farmer.
I know this isn't really about Iran, but I'm a political nerd, so I want to watch
SEAL Team 6. You also were sent to Panama, Persian Gulf. You have 4 Bronze Stars, the Combat Parachute Badge for leadership actions in a combat zone. This is a huge win for you. Massie's been there 14 years. Your thoughts?
Well, first of all, you left out that I'm a dairy farmer from the river bottoms here in rural Kentucky, and I'm really proud of that. That shaped me long before I joined to go off to be a Navy SEAL officer to make a difference. I had the audacity to think I could do that when I left and joined, inspired by President Reagan in 1983. And I was inspired by President Trump when I met with him only on 17 October. So do that arithmetic. And for the viewers, thanks for viewing me tonight, and let me share this story with you. So I met with the president on 17 October, Sean, and here's what he said. He said, Ed, when I brought up President Reagan and what a fan we were of him, he said, Ed, I don't have 2 consecutive terms like President Reagan. I've only got one to enact the agenda the American people have overwhelmingly asked me to enact. Every week counts, every day counts, every hour counts, every vote in the Senate and the House counts. Ed, you need to serve again. You need to serve your district, your nation, and your party. And then I decided to run. I was only in this race really for about 15 weeks when you pull the holidays out. It was a David versus Goliath. I was the underdog. I want to thank the president. I want to thank the conservative Republicans from this district and my supporters and team, because it sends a message that we, the people, are going to stand up. Thank you, Sean.
Well, it was great to get to know you a little bit earlier today on my radio show. You talked a lot about Tom Massie. We can go over his record. I mentioned some of it, you know, voting against the CR, the One Big Beautiful Bill, voted for the War Powers resolutions, which I think was a mistake, repeatedly joined with Democrats to stop the military campaign in Iran, and was just downright hostile towards President Trump, Mike Johnson. I don't think he would have had the stature or the relationship to go in and talk to Mike Johnson or talk to the president on behalf of the people. A lot of farmers like yourself, you're a 5th-generation farmer, and ask for things and negotiate things the way he was acting. So I don't think he was serving the people in your 21 counties particularly well.
Right, you are. We'd have to get the coffee out to run through his entire record of betrayal for the district, the party, in our nation. Simply put, what we'd say in Kentucky, because I'm pretty plain spoken, is he went to Washington, he burned every bridge, he burned a bridge factory, he ran off everybody that would build a bridge to the conservative Republicans. But again, the left-wing Democrats, the radical Democrats loved him. And his votes against our party and our nation go farther back. Now, I want to add one other thing, Sean, for you and the viewers and our conservative Republican friends out there. Remember, it wasn't just President Trump. President Trump, nearly 78 million votes in the presidential race, the most ever for a Republican president. He won 31 states, including the swing states, and also 312 electoral votes. And here in this district, President Trump won by nearly 85%. He stood against us, but he liked to just single out President Trump. All that to say, it's a new day. These people deserve better, and I'm going to give it to them.
Well, Ed Galrain, congratulations. Welcome to the swamp.
Thank you.
We do need strong voices. I do think our founders and our framers envisioned, especially in the House, hardworking Americans that would go to Washington, serve, and go back to their lives. I do believe that. I think you'll do a great job. We appreciate you being with us. Congratulations tonight. Now, while Republicans move forward with a strong America First agenda and candidates, the same cannot be said for Democrats, who have now made extreme now the mainstream as this party now continues its radical shift to the left. And the man running for Senate, for example, in the great state of Maine with the support of many elected Democrats,
right. Do you see that?
Is just the latest example. Democrats were apparently willing to overlook his Nazi link tattoo, but new reporting today shows just how absolutely, truly depraved this man was. According to a very explosive report from Fox News Digital, unearthed Reddit posts showing Plattner previously praising really disgusting graffiti of male genitalia, while also making a vile, disgusting admission about his own behavior. How do I say this? And your children can keep watching in porta potties. The worst part is those posts are not all that old. One in question was made in 2021, one in 2017. You know, both being posted when he was well over 30 years old. This guy is a total, complete lunatic. He previously appeared to blame sexual assault victims attacking rural white Americans, described himself as a communist. Still not a word of criticism from Chucky Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries, or Democratic leadership. Just the opposite. He's being endorsed by people like, Bernie Sanders, etc. And in a recent interview with the New York Times, he even called for a political revolution. Take a listen.
You have talked about wanting to completely break the system as it works now.
We need a political revolution in this country. Without question, that is the only way we're going to effectively resist the Trump administration, but also the only way we're going to effectively build power to, I think, rebuild the American political system to be more representative of the average American.
Oh, we happen to be in the middle of one, and I prefer one that didn't have people that once thought it was a good idea to put on a Nazi tattoo. Now, Plattner isn't the only Democrat spewing more extremist rhetoric. Maryland Governor Wes Moore told Politico that he thinks racism is a part of an inherent fabric of the USA. Take a look.
Is this a racist country, do you think? I think that racism is part of an inherent fabric of this country. And I think we have to be honest about that. Now, I do think there is a healing that can still take place from that. But again, to deny our history is foolish.
Oh my gosh.
Now, meanwhile, House Minority Leader, leader in name only, Hakeem Jeffries, is now refusing to tone down the rhetoric, now says he wants to, quote, break the spirit of President Trump's supporters. And here's what he said.
Either MAGA extremists are going to break the country or we're going to break them. And our goal is to break them. We will defeat them. We have to beat them electorally, and then we have to break their spirit.
Break their spirit. Gavin Newsom also weighing in, trying to gaslight the American people over the redistricting war, claiming they had to fight fire with fire. Speaking of fires, maybe you should think about hydrants with water and reservoirs with water. But why would he ever go to work? Take a look.
We have to be, dare I say it, I'm sorry, Democrats, that we have to be as ruthless as our opposition. We do.
Ruthless?
We have to win.
Because we don't
It's
want
all
the
on
truth?
line. You just got to win. I'm done winning arguments. With all due respect to the niceties, it feels good, but we're going to lose our republic. Again, the founding fathers did not live and die for this.
You're
moment.
the reason that America has
celebrate
become what it is today, you
July
know?
4th.
His dream would be to make America just like California. That would be an unmitigated disaster. And of course, the left is still pushing comparisons between President Trump and Adolf Hitler and comparing ICE agents to Nazis and Gestapo. Now take a look at these disgusting comments from failed Minneapolis Mayor Smallfry back in the news. Take a look.
There's a historical analog here, which is the SS. The SS was unaccountable to the parliament. They answered only to Hitler. ICE also, once they get the funding and have these massive increases to the extent that it's larger than the FBI, they largely don't need approvals from the congressional body. It is very much Donald Trump's force.
Also tonight, President Trump has settled his $10 billion lawsuit with the IRS after suing over the illegal disclosure of not only his tax records, his entire family, every company owned by the Trump organization, by a rogue IRS contractor who broke the law in doing so. And as part of the agreement to end this case, the DOJ rightly agreed to set aside the patriotic amount of $1.76 billion to settle other claims like this. In a statement tonight, the Trump organization tells us that the settlement helped provide accountability for the illegal leak of the tax information of President Trump, his sons, and over 500 Trump organization entities, leaks that resulted in criminal charges, prison sentences, and the statement also says the settlement sends a very clear bipartisan message. The weaponization of our federal government and our agencies will no longer be tolerated. The left acts as though the release of personal private tax returns and weaponization, that's okay? But first, back to our top story tonight. Let's bring in Texas Senator Ted Cruz. Well, the president having a good night, and with small majorities, you know, Reagan famously said it. I know you're a Reagan historian scholar, that if you're 80% for us, you're not my enemy. The problem with people like Tom Massey and others like him is they're almost never with the president. And with slim majorities, you can't accomplish things if you don't work as a team.
Yeah, look, Sean, that's clearly right. If you vote no 100% of the time, that's a problem. If you vote with the Democrats almost 100% of the time, that's a problem. You know, we've got exceptionally slim majorities in the House and Senate. I will say in the past year, with President Trump in the White House, with the Republican Senate, with the Republican House, we have accomplished more in the past year than in any year since you and I have been alive. And I have no time for people that just say, no, 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 I don't want to do anything. The stakes are too high. We're not screwing around. This is not a game. If you want to just criticize everything, go write an op-ed online. Go write a blog online. But if you're going to take a congressional seat, if you're going to have a vote, particularly if we had a 250 vote majority in the House, fine, you could vote no, it doesn't matter. But with the excruciatingly narrow vote, we can't mess around with this. We've got to deliver real results. And the message that I had to my colleagues over and over again, the message, look, I've spent a decade as President Trump's strongest ally in the Senate. And I'm focused on working with the president to deliver real results. And if you're not focused on that, that's a real problem.
It is a real problem. I don't think the issues that will define the outcome of this midterm year have even happened yet. And by that, I mean, I think the Iran issue will be resolved. The president will prevent them from getting nuclear weapons. I think the ensuing lowering of the cost of energy, that will make the American people realize it was short-lived, and that'll give them confidence in the economy. I think all the president's committed investments, bringing back manufacturing to the country, I think that's going to have a big impact, creating high-paying career jobs at a level I've never seen, 10, 12, 18 billion, whatever, $1 trillion committed investment money in this country. What does that do for the economy on top of energy independence, on top of the largest tax cut in history?
Yeah. Look, I think that's absolutely right. We have a record of success to run on, cutting illegal border crossings 99%, dropping the murder rate 20%, dropping the drug overdose deaths 20%, passing the biggest tax cut in American history, passing no tax on tips, passing no tax on overtime, passing no tax on Social Security. Big, big victories, passing the biggest school choice program at the federal level in American history, passing the Trump accounts, a generational transformational program, both school choice and the Trump accounts. I authored both of those. Those are going to impact and benefits millions of kids. That is a record of success. And the Democrats, sadly, look, they've devolved into a party that believes in nothing but hate for Donald Trump. Orange man bad is the essence of the Democrat Party, and it is infuriating. You look at Graham Plattner. This guy is a self-described communist. I'm not calling him a communist. He says, I am a communist. And this is somebody who put a Nazi tattoo on his chest, not just a Nazi tattoo, by the way, not just a swastika, a Totenkopf, which is the symbol of the SS. It was interesting listening to Mayor Fry talk about the SS. Well, gosh, you're supporting a guy, your whole party is supporting a guy who had an SS symbol. You know what that Totenkopf was that was on his chest? It's what the SS wore in the Nazi death camps, the concentration camps that were murdering 6 million Jews. And yet, Democrat after Democrat is traveling to Maine. Elizabeth Warren, Nazi communist, he's my guy. One after the other after the other. They're utter hypocrites. You know, Sean, you and I remember when Roy Moore was running for Senate in Alabama. And I and a number of others supported him early on. And then serious allegations came out against him of sexually abusing kids and coming on to kids. And a bunch of us pulled back and said, you know what? We actually have standards. We actually believe something. Name one Democrat in the House or Senate who said, listen, I'm a liberal. I like high taxes. I'm for open borders. I'm for all that. But I don't support a Nazi. There is literally not a single one who said a Nazi communist is too much for me. For them, it is all about power. And is there any decency? Is there any soul? Actually, that's not fair. John Fetterman is the lone Democrat who has said enough is enough. Is there anybody else? I don't think there is.
I can't name one, Senator. This is a party run by radical, hard leftists, a squad, AOC, Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth
and it's
Warren.
Power, power, power. It's all they care about.
And what's worse is nobody will stand up to them. Chucky Schumer wouldn't dare. Hakeem Jeffries wouldn't dare. Their vile rhetoric will come back to bite them. They have no agenda that will appeal to the middle of this country. I'll tell you that. Senator Ted Cruz, thank you for being with us. And coming up, breaking news tonight, the Justice Department is set to announce the formal indictment of Raul Castro. We'll bring you a live report with all the details. Also, President Trump is once again showing America's strength on the global stage. We'll check in with General Jack Keane. He's next as we continue.
Okay, so Iran is next. So looking forward to that. While we're in a commercial break, keep an eye out for my next video. I don't know why it took me so long to make my upcoming video. I haven't published it yet, but it is unlisted. So I'm going to make it, I'll have it go live once the live stream is done. But let me give you a little sample here of my video. So this is what you can expect when you watch the full thing once I publish it later this evening. We need to talk about something that would have sounded impossible just a few years ago. The Islamic Republic occupying Iran is entering the most dangerous period in its entire modern existence. And I don't say that lightly, because for 47 years, this brutal regime has survived war, it has survived sanctions, assassinations, isolation, economic collapse, internal protests, international pressure, cyber warfare, and regional conflict. But what happened on February 28, 2026 changed the political psychology of Iran and the Islamic regime occupying Iran forever. I'm talking about Ali Khamenei, who was exterminated on February 28.
Iran's formerly supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, is dead. This wretched and vile man had the blood of hundreds and even thousands of Americans on his hands and was responsible for the slaughter of countless thousands of innocent people all across many countries. Last night, all over Iran, the voices of the Iranian people could be heard cheering and celebrating in the streets when his death was announced.
And suddenly, the Islamic Republic no longer looks permanent. And that's the key point, because for decades, the Islamic regime built its entire image around inevitability. Its message was, we survived everyone. We control everything. There is no alternative. The revolution is eternal. Then, suddenly, the supreme leader was killed. And whether people support the regime or oppose it, everyone understands one undeniable truth. The Islamic Republic is vulnerable. That psychological shift matters enormously because authoritarian systems survive through perception as much as through force. The moment populations begin sensing weakness, history starts accelerating. In this video, I will walk you through why the regime suddenly looks unstable, why the rise of Mojtaba Khamenei created a legitimacy nightmare, why the IRGC, also known as the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, may now be the real ruling power in occupied Iran, why younger Iranians have emotionally disconnected from the regime, and why the next few weeks could determine the future of
the U.S. Department of Justice plans to indict Raul Castro tomorrow. Now, he is, of course, the former president of Cuba.
That was a little
and the
preview.
brother of dictator, murderer Fidel Castro, who led a revolution on the island back in the 50s that resulted in Cuba becoming the communist pariah that it is.
All right, let me just go and finish the preview, and then once it gets to Iran, we'll go back to Sean Hannity. Could determine the future of the Middle East. Because I genuinely believe we are watching the beginning of a completely new chapter in modern Iranian history. I'm Goldie Ghamari, former Canadian politician and current geopolitical analyst and human rights activist, and you're watching The Goldie Show. There you go. So that's a little preview of my upcoming video, the Islamic regime, the beginning of the end. So I know you guys probably want me to play the whole thing, but that was just like a sneak peek. So make sure that you're subscribed to my YouTube channel because as soon as my live stream is done, I will have that video go live so that you can watch that as well. So that was just a little sneak peek teaser for you guys. So hope you liked that. And yeah, I did promise you guys that I'm going to be working on some more like long form content videos because I haven't done those sorts of videos in a while. But I also appreciate that doing like 8 or 10 hour live streams, you can't get all the information, right? Because, you know, people aren't going to watch an 8 hour live stream just to get some info. So I'm trying to like take the main points and put them into shorter videos that are easier for consumption. And yeah, I see all your comments. So I appreciate that. Thank you. I'm glad that you guys are enjoying my shorter videos as well, because it, you know, the shorter videos give me an opportunity to sort of take all of my thoughts and, you know, convey them in sort of a concise manner, focus on one particular topic. Whereas, I know some of you guys like the 8-hour live streams. It's just, not, okay, let's go back to Sean Hannity.
After announcing yesterday that he was calling off a planned military strike on Iran, the president said today that he's giving Iran until about the end of the week to come up with a deal that he will approve. Now, we have talked about this, and the president has laid out his terms over and over again. No more nuclear enrichment. All previously enriched uranium, that's 60%, the 900 pounds of it, must be turned over to the U.S. Iran must open the Strait of Hormuz, leave it open, and they must abandon their ballistic missile program. That would be good for Europe and the world. Iran can never have a nuclear weapon. Iran must stop supporting nuclear proxies, and Congress must approve this deal. With reaction to all the latest developments around the world, our senior strategic analyst, our friend General Jack Keane, is back with us. General, I think what the president has been messaging the country, that list I just laid out, is exactly the deal that they'll have to take. I don't think he's changing his mind. I wouldn't expect it at all.
Yeah, well, you're absolutely right about that, Sean. I mean, the president's not going to make a bad deal. I mean, he's the nation's backstop here for sure. But what's been going on here? I mean, we're 6 weeks into what was supposed to be a 2-week deadline to get a deal. And it just seems to be kicking down the road time and time again. It looks like the Pakistanis, I think, are working with the Iranians and offering incentives for us to make a deal. We're getting closer to the deal. But then when it comes to actually putting the facts on the table, there's no deal of substance there that we're willing to accept. And I think just for the sake of our audience here, for them to understand that even if we did make a deal, one of the provisions of the deal will be to unfreeze some of the assets, $100 billion, maybe not all of it at once, but some of it, and then condition the rest of it, and unfreeze the sanctions that have been imposed. And that begins to finance not only the survival of the regime, but the recovery of it. And that means we're dealing with them for years to come. So there's limitations to this deal. And the other thing we know after 47 years of working with them, Sean, is no matter what they sign on a piece of paper, the reality is they will work very hard and with major acceleration to do what? To turn that deal around, to reverse it, to cheat on it, to recover the ballistic missiles anyway, to recover nuclear at a secret site, to clandestinely covertly provide financing to the proxies. That's who they are. And the only way you could ever make a deal that would have a long-term effect would be if we were making a deal with other people, not these people who are running the regime. So there's limitations to the deal itself. And the president's not going to make a bad deal here.
You know, the president, I mean, there's nobody that will negotiate better. As he told me personally, that he could wipe them out probably in 5 minutes, maybe 15, if he needs a little extra time. This seems to be the end of the road, though, General. He's given them time to get their act together. He, like us, I mean, he's a trust but verify guy. To me, that means anywhere, any place, anytime. American inspectors. Last word, sir.
Yeah, and the other thing that's going on here that may be a factor is what my sources are telling me. There's a concern that if we go to combat operations, the Iranians are going to retaliate against the Arab oil and gas fields. Well, if that's the case, the Arabs, if they need more protection, we can give them protection. We're defending Israel because they asked us to help them. If the Arabs need that kind of added defense in addition to what they have, I'm certain we can put a plan together to make certain that doesn't happen. And the other thing we can do offensively, just tell the Iranians straight out, if you attack the oil fields in the Middle East, we're going to begin to destroy and dismantle your energy infrastructure, starting with Cargallen and all the energy infrastructure you have in terms of oil and gas on the mainland. We have all the cards here, Sean. We just need to play them.
All right, General Keane, always appreciate your time. Thank you for being with us. And coming up, we'll check back in with Bill Hemrys at the big board on tonight's huge primary results. We'll get reaction from Charlie Hurt, Ari Fleischer, as we continue.
Okay, so that's pretty much the updates from Sean Hannity. Jesse Waters, I believe, also posted something from earlier, which I missed. So I just want to watch that really briefly. And then we're going to go to some of the updates as well as my analysis and commentary.
The president's been speaking with his national security team after calling off airstrikes at the last second.
How close were you to striking Iran?
I was an hour away. We were all set to go. You're talking about yesterday.
Yes.
We were going to be striking it would have been happening right now. Yeah, it was all done. The boats, the ships are all loaded. They're loaded to the brim. And we were all set to start.
Our Gulf allies begged the president to give peace a chance, but 47 declared a new deadline, Memorial Day.
I'm saying 2 or 3 days, maybe Friday, Saturday, Sunday, something, maybe early next week, a limited period of time. Because we can't let them have a nuclear weapon. If they had a nuclear weapon, they would start with Israel. They would blow it up, and they would blow it up fast.
The president's ordered his team to be prepared to bomb at a moment's notice. So it could happen tonight, Friday, whenever. Generals say the Iranians are going to wage economic terrorism until we take our fingers off the trigger.
Iran is attacking the Gulf states because they want that pressure put on the administration to stop the war. They got a ceasefire out of it, and now they're extending the ceasefire some 6 weeks, and they're absolutely convinced if they string this out closer to the midterms and oil prices continue to rise as a result of it, that the president may just wash his hands of the whole thing and declare victory. That's kind of what their objective is here. War is fundamentally about breaking will here, and they want to break our will.
The Persians are squirrely. They've been doing this for decades.
Yep.
It's like negotiating with an octopus who has amnesia.
They also are just a fractured country. So you have the leadership of the country, there's the supreme leader, and then there are a lot of officials below the supreme leader that has some influence in the negotiation. It's not sometimes totally clear what the negotiating position of the team is. And I don't know if that's sometimes bad communication, if that's bad faith. I wouldn't pretend to venture a guess there, but I will say with confidence, it's sometimes hard to figure out exactly what it is that the Iranians want to accomplish out of the negotiation.
The Iranians love the ceasefire. If we bomb them again, it hurts them. If we cut a deal, kind of hurts them because they lose leverage and risk a revolution. Iran's frozen on a war footing, and it actually freezes the regime in power. CENTCOM Commander Admiral Brad Cooper was on the Hill today, and he says they've been using the ceasefire to go on a killing spree.
We saw them kill tens of thousands of their own people, and since the ceasefire, we've seen them hang dozens of people. Gotcha. Just yesterday, you saw the chief of police proudly announce that they arrested 6,500 Iranians for no reason.
Trump has to change the status quo. Iran.
Oh my gosh. Wow. The fact that Brad Cooper is acknowledging this, I mean, that's huge. That means that the United States knows exactly what's going on because we have been trying to raise awareness about the mass executions and, the hangings that are happening every day. So guys, this lets me know that the military is aware of the humanitarian crisis right now in occupied Iran by the Islamic regime against the Iranian people. Oh my gosh.
Says they've been using the ceasefire to go on a killing spree.
We saw them kill tens of thousands of their own people, and since the ceasefire, we've seen them hang dozens of people. Gotcha. Just yesterday, you saw the chief of police proudly announce that they arrested 6,500 Iranians for no reason.
Trump has to change the status quo. Iran's wounded, they're cornered, but they haven't surrendered. Meanwhile, costs are going up, and Iran's using the ceasefire to flex on CNN.
These kiosks have been set up in each of these sort of squares.
Yeah, we've
where
shown these.
members of the military there, you can see them with masks on. They're showing people, in this case a woman, basic skills of how to use what I think is an AK-47 or a Kalashnikov, things like that. Look over here. They're showing children how to use them as well. It's all part of a sort of state-sponsored call to arms in case the war begins again.
CNN's being used by the mullahs.
Yeah.
They don't seem to care. The network is not helping the United States.
It's all guns on state.
I agree, guys. Remember, I went on a whole rant. About this last night when we were watching it for the first time. And then, of course, we spoke about it again today. I'm so glad Jesse Waters is calling this out, because that CNN propaganda piece is absolutely shameful.
Not helping the United States.
It's all guns on state television too. It's several Iranian channels broadcasting their hosts brandishing assault rifles. They gave me a weapon so I could learn how to use it, like you, this anchor tells her viewers. After his on-air training, this presenter fires off a round into the studio ceiling.
Like, guys, that's not normal. I've been monitoring Islamic regime state TV for, forever. Never in my life have I ever witnessed a scene like this, where not only is the Islamic regime like showing, how to use guns on air, but then like the TV broadcaster just randomly shoots the gun into the ceiling as if it's like the most normal thing in the world. Like, this is crazy. Like, guys, this is not normal. This is not normal, guys. This is it's all like, I explain it more in my video that I'm going to upload and publish later. But this is all basically signs of collapse, right? Like, the Islamic regime is desperate here.
After his on-air training, this presenter fires off a round into the studio ceiling.
What is that?
Iran doesn't look like they're ready to sign a treaty. They're trying to bait us into a ground invasion and look tough domestically. Yeah. It's their only play, because their arsenal is almost gone.
Operation Epic Fury significantly degraded Iran's ballistic missiles and drones, while destroying 90% of their defense industrial base, ensuring that Iran cannot reconstitute for years. And then finally, Iran spent decades and billions of dollars arming proxies. Today, Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthis are cut off from Iran's weapons supply and support.
The mullahs don't have the proxies or their sugar daddy. Xi's not so happy with the gay Ayatollah. He wants the straight open. But his boy Putin just landed in Beijing, and Pooty Poot's telling him, let's keep it closed. High oil prices are funding my war in Ukraine. The blockade's still undefeated. Overnight, an Iranian blockade runner known as the Skywave tried crossing the Indian Ocean. Ship was loaded back in February with over 1 million barrels of crude from Karg Island. Lloyd says Skyway was coming back from Asia. Unclear if they ever got a chance to unload. This is now the third runner that we've seized. And NATO's thinking about sending troops to Hormuz if the strait isn't opened by July 4th. Gas prices are putting pressure on the White House.
We are very aware that because of what's going on in the Middle East, gas prices have gone up, and a lot of Americans are struggling because of that. Our view is that it is a temporary increase. We're taking a number of steps to try to push back against it and try to ensure that Americans are paying as little at the pump as possible. But I feel quite confident after we've taken care of business in the Middle East, those prices are going to come down.
How much pain can we tolerate? Trump said it had to be done and should have been done by Sleepy or Hussein.
If I left today, it would take them 25 years to rebuild. But we're not leaving. We're going to do it right so that in 5 years, 10 years, if you have a bad president who doesn't want to do what's right to do, this should have been done by Obama. This should have been done by Biden. It should have been done by other presidents long before me. And everybody agrees to that.
The president wants this to end with the Iranians crying uncle, but the Democrats say we should be the ones crying.
What's the plan now to actually win this war? Because it feels like we're losing. It doesn't seem to be going well. And I would like to know how many more Americans we have to ask to die for this mistake. Do you know?
I think it's an entirely inappropriate statement from you, sir.
The president's giving diplomacy time. A lot of people feel like it's been too much time. Either way, the White House is committed to seeing this done.
I think a lot of Americans, especially in my generation, who are worried about forever endless conflicts, we have to remember, I think you said 11 weeks, a big chunk of that has been a ceasefire. This is not a forever war. We're going to take care of business and come home. That's what the president's promised, and that's exactly what he's going to deliver.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest.
There you go. I have a few more videos that I want to watch and share with you guys. And the political nerd in me, like I am planning on watching the entire 3-hour video stream of Admiral Brad Cooper testifying before the House committee. That was from earlier today. I don't know if I want to make you guys suffer through that though, because I'm like a big political nerd. Like I love Senate hearings, congressional hearings, things like that. So I don't know if I want to put you guys through all of that. I'll think about it. Because like I like watching these things and giving my commentary and all that. But let's see how it's going. I might do like a special live stream maybe tomorrow morning, not sure yet. But there's a few other videos that I did want to share. So this one, like share and also watch. And guys, the reason that I watch media, I want to make it very clear. It's not necessarily because I'm looking for information on Iran, because I already know what's going on. The reason that I watch American media, and only certain specific media outlets, right? And Fox News is one of those. The reason that I watch American media is because it allows me to gauge the temperature, right? Because usually I find that the rhetoric and the narrative that is being shared by certain broadcasters, it kind of lets me know where President Trump's head is at, because these are the same people and broadcasters that President Trump is sharing on his Truth Social. So that's why I watch this, because it gives me a better understanding of how people are sort of laying the groundwork when it comes to the war, because the war is not just about the military aspect, it's also the psychological aspect of it as well. Okay, so let's watch this video from Fox News Business that was posted recently, and then I'll put a poll later. We have a troll. Who's the troll? All right, and then I'll do a poll later. You know what? I'll probably do the 3-hour congressional hearing. I might do that tomorrow. If you guys are interested in watching the 3-hour congressional video with me, I'll do that separately. I can do that tomorrow morning, maybe.
So for more on this, let's bring in Aaron Cohen, Israeli special ops veteran and founder of the Gideon and
I'll be right
Alex Gray,
back.
former National Security Council Chief of Staff. Alex, let's start with you. The last time it felt like the negotiations were going somewhere, maybe from the outside looking in, it felt like the impasse was over enriched uranium, how long they would, how much they would give up, how long they would put the program on the shelf. Could we be getting back to that pretty soon? Because it sounded today like Vice President Vance is pretty clear that the clock is much closer to midnight than many may expect.
Yeah, Charles, I think we're going to have a clear discussion where the Iranians can no longer delay on what to do with the highly enriched uranium and what to do with the nuclear program. It's almost as if the Iranians and maybe some domestic audiences are so not used to American politicians meaning what they say and saying what they mean that they can't even process that President Trump has said consistently since 2015 he will not tolerate an Iranian nuclear weapon. So we're doing exactly what the president has consistently said across both presidencies. And I think, Charles, where we're headed is the president he's got the blockade. He's had the American military rearming, getting ready in the region with our deployed forces. I think the president is now in a position where the Iranians have this opportunity to put up or shut up. And if not, I think the president is truly ready to re-engage kinetically.
Aaron, we're rearming and loading, getting reloaded.
Oh, someone's asking if I have a new sponsor. Guys, I have not had a single sponsor. When I say that tonight's, bubbly flavor is like, tonight's show is sponsored by bubbly mango flavor, that's a joke. I'm not actually sponsored by anyone. I mean, I don't have any sponsorship deals. It's just a running joke because I just always drink bubbly while I'm live streaming. And, you know, I always have like different flavors of bubbly. So it's like an inside joke. Yeah, that's what it is. It's not like an actual sponsor.
Loaded, but if you read the New York Times, it sounds if you read the New York Times, it sounds like we did nothing. Everything that happened in Iran, they've rebuilt it, they've added to it, they're better prepared. And the only reason that we didn't attack was that they've gotten reconnaissance and help from Russia and China. And we can't surprise them anymore that we're actually the weaker link right now.
Well, that's why I don't read the New York Times. It's good to see you, Charles.
You too.
Let me back it up for a second. Let me set the table a little bit here. I think I need to reset everybody who may be watching. We have to understand where Iran was just weeks ago. Their proxy network degraded. Their strategic deterrence absolutely obliterated. Their key infrastructure hits across the board. Their air defense capability took existence. So the regime understands that the United States and Israel are willing to move farther than Tehran or the Middle East or the world ever expected. And so that changes the psychological battlefield completely. I want to make it clear. Iran is only at the table negotiating because of President Trump's leadership, vision, Israeli-generated intel with that U.S. muscle and might and tactical capability. And so the Trump, I think what happened was him saying, hey, we're just hours away. What he's doing is what he has always done throughout this campaign, which isn't just applying maximum pressure, it's maximum uncertainty. And that uncertainty, in my opinion, is the pressure. And so when the president says we're an hour away from strikes, that message isn't just for the U.S. That's for the IRGC, for Tehran, whatever supreme leader is running the show right now, the intelligence apparatus inside of Iran. And so you're one decision away from another strike package. And so I think that's going to force the regime to operate under that constant pressure and instability. And I really think we're just moments away from him dialing this up. That pressure, it seems, needs to come back, and it needs to come back within the next days. That's where I'm at.
So, Aaron, I'll ask you this as well, Alex. But, Aaron, let me stick with you on this. The notion that you have odds within Iran, you've got two factions there, but they do agree on one thing. They love what they've been able to achieve with the Strait. They like to use it as a money source, as a power source. Right. Are you buying that?
No, not. I mean, I'm buying that they love to use it as a power. Look, let me answer that. The regime is still the regime. And I think that's the part that people are forgetting. Nothing ideologically, in my opinion, or from my intelligence sources on the ground, tells me that anything has changed inside the Iranian regime. The IRGC is still the IRGC. They're going to use whatever they have with the Strait to keep creating that chaos and buy time. So they still want that regional dominance. They still want to project that. They just want to destabilize. And they still view America and Israel, and always will, as long-term adversaries. So the question is whether pressure can force temporary concessions. Right. I think we have to move back to kinetic operations. And that's the tactical pause that I think the president has been preparing for. He's not a dumb guy. He's very strategic. So I think we're going to see that start to re-kick. It's just a matter of days.
Alex, speaking of this, the kinetic pressure, last night, the Wall Street Journal reports that we seized an oil tanker, an Iranian oil tanker, Skyway, 1 million barrels of oil on it. A lot of folks watching this saying, hey, if we're patient, this cutting off their ability to transport their oil will ultimately break their economy, will crash their economy, could spark the uprising that many have been hoping for, and maybe we should be more patient with this. Your thoughts?
Look, I think that would work in a perfect world. The reality is, between U.S. domestic politics, the politics in our Asian and European allies, we don't have unlimited time. We don't have that level of patience. And I agree with Aaron's point. Going kinetic again in a targeted way against a regime that remains an implacable ideological foe of the U.S. and the West, that is probably where the president's going to have to be to execute the goals that he has been unambiguous about for a decade. No nuclear weapons, destroying the proxies, keeping Iran in its box in the Middle East. And as much as I think we'd all like to allow the U.S. Navy to do what it does well, execute this blockade, I just don't think that the timelines politically around the world and here are going to allow us to do that without a kinetic escalation like Epic Fury.
So, Alex, then the ultimate part of this, the last mile, so to speak, it's hard to get these speedboats. It's hard to get these folks encamped along the banks with drones. Will we have to ultimately have boots on the ground?
Like, I don't think we're going to have boots on the ground. I don't think that's, I don't think that's a direction the president's going to go. I think the president's been one of the most eloquent spokesmen over the last several decades for an American strategic focus on the Middle East that is not overcommitting, that takes into account the experiences we had in Iraq and Afghanistan. I think the president can accomplish the goals that he's trying to accomplish here, keep Iran contained, get the regime to operate within an American set of boxes of left and right bounds. He could do that without having to use boots on the ground.
Aaron, President Trump returned from China with reassurances from President Xi there with respect to Iran. How much faith do you have in that?
You can't trust the Chinese.
I think, I think the game was played. Everybody dumping their cell phones into bins. You got to be careful with China. China's got the most strategic interest here. It's about that oil. It's about that energy. And
China is also using satellite technology and imagery to give away U.S. military positions to the Islamic regime, so the IRGC could attack U.S. military. Like that's what China has been doing. So you can't trust China.
So I think President Trump is onto them. I think he's just going to continue to focus on this dangerous zone that we're in right now with Iran, keep it focused on that particular area of interest. Look, the biggest danger right now is psychological complacency. And the second China, Charles, starts convincing itself that this issue is solved and that the president and the U.S. and Israel backed into a corner, the regime gains operational breathing room. And I think President Trump knows that. So at the end of the day, I think what we're going to have to see here is that kinetic re-kick of the flame or the spark, because the real goal is forcing that regime in a position where the cost of continuing to drag this thing out becomes higher than the cost of compromise. And I think that's what we're going to start inching ourselves towards here.
Yeah.
Ashley Webster.
I agree with that 100%. Okay, one more, and then we're going to go to some updates because I've been really curious to watch this one.
President Trump hits pause, holding off on plans to resume bombing Iran was set for today, giving talks more time to hammer out a deal at the request of key Gulf allies. Welcome to a brand new hour of America's Newsroom. I'm Dana Perino.
Morning to you. Hey. Good, quick first hour, I would say, right?
Zoomed right
Halftime, here we go. I'm Bill Hemmer. Good morning at home. President Trump directing his military commanders to be ready for action at a moment's notice. This as Gulf states remain on edge amid a shaky ceasefire. Retired Vice Admiral Robert Harward telling us last hour the president has time on his side, however.
Patience may be a little short of the real objective here. The president has time on his hands. He controls the narrative, he controls the strike capabilities, and he knows that the policy he set with the blockade has had short-term and long-term effects on the regime and the people of Iran. So he's been very astute in leveraging that time.
All right, let's get to a new hour. It starts right now live in Dubai, and Jeff Paul is on duty there. And Jeff, hello to you.
Yeah, Bill, and I would say there's definitely an overwhelming sense of relief among the folks who we've spoken to here in the UAE. Just a couple days ago, there was a drone attack at a nearby nuclear power plant. And since then, there's just been a growing sense of anxiety amongst folks that the war would once again resume. Well, President Trump seemingly putting those fears to bed, saying that serious negotiations are now taking place. In fact, Qatar's foreign ministry spokesperson just said that communication is ongoing between leaders in the region and with, quote, conflict parties to prevent a return to escalation. But President Trump has told his military leaders to be prepared to go forward with a large-scale assault of Iran on a moment's notice in the event an acceptable deal isn't reached. In response, an Iranian army spokesperson reportedly told a local news agency Iran will, quote, open new fronts against the U.S. if attacks resume. Residents in Tehran accused President.
Really? Open new fronts. What exactly are you going to do? What new fronts are you going to be opening? Are you referring to, I don't know, the children that you're giving guns to, and you're training the children of the Islamic regime officials, right? Like, is that the new front that you're referring to? Like, this is like, what weapons? Guys, the Islamic regime has been boasting about how they have the secret weapon that they're going to employ against the United States since February 28th. Since the day that Khamenei was boom-boomed, the Islamic regime has claimed that they have some sort of like secret weapon that they're planning on using against the Americans, and yet we haven't seen anything.
President Trump of making contradictory statements, but overall want the war to end.
In the first place, I actually don't think.
Oh my gosh. See, I don't even understand. Like, guys, what's the point of interviewing people in occupied Iran? It's a totalitarian dictatorship. So the only people that you actually end up interviewing are people who are part of the Islamic regime, and they're going to spout Islamic regime propaganda. Or maybe you catch a regular, ordinary, normal person. That person is not going to say anything against the Islamic regime, because doing so will literally put them in jail, right? Like, speaking out against the Islamic regime is a death sentence. So I don't understand. Like there is no freedom of press. There's no freedom of press in occupied Iran.
President Trump of making contradictory statements, but overall want the war to end.
In the first place, I actually don't think war is a good thing. If we can have negotiations in
Yeah, so this guy's totally an Islamic regime person, right?
a way that we come out as the winner of the negotiations, I'm 100% in favor of negotiations. Because war really has very bad consequences for people.
I mean, war has bad consequences for the Islamic regime, but not the people. The Iranian people want war because, literally, Admiral Brad Cooper testified today that the Islamic regime has murdered tens of thousands of people. And even today, they boasted about arresting another 6,500 people and then executing hundreds and hundreds of people, right?
For everyone.
But until some sort of peace agreement is signed, Iran remains in control over the Strait of Hormuz, with nearly all ships still effectively blocked from transiting to.
Wait, how is Iran in control of the Strait of Hormuz? It's the United States that's in control of the Strait of Hormuz. This is weird.
Oil prices continue to rise. Supplies of fertilizers are blocked, as well as other critical goods. The United Nations says freedom of navigation must be restored.
We want to make sure that there's.
Oh, the United Nations. Okay, the same United Nations that literally put the Islamic regime on a committee that allows it to shape policy, like counterterrorism policy and policy on women's rights. That United Nations, the same United Nations that enables the Islamic regime to survive, the same United Nations that shakes hands with the Islamic regime, that United Nations, the one that's become globally insignificant.
No constraint to freedom of navigation on the high seas and on the Strait.
Oh, it's so great that the United Nations cares more about freedom of navigation for the Islamic regime than it does about the fact that the Islamic regime has slaughtered over 40,000 innocent Iranians in 2 days alone.
Of Hormuz. And so we don't want any particular entity to restrict that freedom of access.
Yeah, well, what you want is irrelevant because you want the Iranian people to be oppressed and murdered, and the United Nations is garbage.
Now, while there is that sense of relief here in the Gulf, there's also some cautious optimism because we have sort of been here before where there was talks of a new strike on Iran, then they were held off. So talks and a possible peace deal could be leveraged. So we'll see if this time is different. Only time will tell, Bill.
Jeff, thanks. Jeff Paul, live in Dubai, starting a new hour. Thank you, Dana.
Wow.
And more on this.
That was a garbage update by that Jeff Paul guy, by the way.
Brent Sadler is a Heritage Foundation Senior Fellow and former U.S. Navy captain. Thank you for being here. I want to read to you from the Institute for the Study of War. Their analysis says that the IRGC affiliated outlets continue to threaten commercial and digital activity linked to the Strait of Hormuz as part of broader regime efforts to institutionalize Iranian authority over the waterway. If you're in the Situation Room this morning, I mean, isn't that the nub of what has to be addressed here?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I think we're at a situation where without using military force, you're not going to get or compel the Iranians to make the types of concessions that are necessary, and certainly in the near term, not to be able to visibly and very demonstratively prove that the Iranians cannot hold the shipping that passes through the Straits of Hormuz at risk or grave risk. And I think military action is becoming increasingly likely. As we know now, the president was planning that. And I think that's probably necessary to get to the type of conclusion and negotiations that the United States needs.
There's some analysis today in the New York Times suggesting that Iran was ready for a 3-month war of intense heavy bombing. And also, if the bombing returns, that they're going to get ready to batten down the hatches. Here's what they write. They say, here's how Iran could respond to renewed strikes. In any new round of fighting, Iranian officials could adopt new tactics, including intensified strikes on neighbors and trying to close off a second strait. That would be over there in the Red Sea. What do you think Iran would want to do if the bombing continued? And how could that mess with U.S. planning and strategy?
Well, with or without negotiations, the game plan by this regime has been for a long time to delay and to try to push things off so that they don't have to concede anything and that they can quietly return back to their weapons program.
Yeah, that's exactly it. That's what the Islamic regime does. It's constantly delay.
And pick up where they were left off.
Yep.
I think it's not a lack of effort on their part that their proxies, the Houthis, Hezbollah, and of course Hamas, have not been more active in attacking U.S. interests and our allies than they have. Most notably is the absence of the Houthis in attacking shipping there. So I'm not sure it's because the Iranians have some new weapon or new, support to their proxies that's in store for us. I think that's more bluster. But again, the one proxy that we have to be concerned about is those in Iraq. And again, if we restart where we were the first couple of weeks of this conflict with strikes across Iran, we're months into this. China, its biggest benefactor to the regime, has been under a lot of pressure for their energy flows being cut off because of this conflict. So the world is a different place than it was when this started on February 28th. And the Iranian regime would be, I think, seriously miscalculating that they think they could weather this again for that many months, if in fact is true.
Brett, I just want to play for you. This is President Trump yesterday talking a little bit about his meeting with President Xi in China and the future in regards to Iran.
I just left China, and I will say President Xi was very, very complimentary of our military. We're not going to let Iran have a nuclear weapon. So I was called by these 3 countries plus others, and they're dealing directly with our people and right now Iran. And there seems to be a very good chance that they can work something out. If we can do that without bombing the hell out of them, I'd be very happy.
What would you expect to see from the Iranians on that? I mean, they are masters at delay, but they also...
that's not going to happen. President Trump saying we expect a deal to be made. President Trump knows very well that a deal is not going to be made. The fact that President Trump, and, mark my words on this, bookmark this, screenshot this, whatever. The fact that President Trump is portraying it as if he expects that a deal is going to be made, this is causing more division within the Islamic regime. Because if you recall, the supreme dictator, the cardboard supreme leader, Khamenei, Mojtaba Khamenei, has put out, an official statement. We know that the IRGC is speaking through him, right? The IRGC pushed for Mojtaba to become the supreme dictator because they know he's in a coma. They knew that, he is he's I don't even know if he's alive or dead or whatever, but they speak through him. So the IRGC is never going to agree to no nuclear enrichment. President Trump knows this. So by President Trump saying, yeah, we're speaking with them and they seem very reasonable and I think they're going to agree, what that's doing is that's going to make all the various factions that are vying for power, they're going to be pointing at each other and going, who is the one that's speaking with President Trump? Who is the one that is claiming that they're going to accept President Trump's deal? And this is causing more internal division.
Are in dire straits.
Yeah, I mean, the proof will be in the pudding. If the Chinese are able to apply adequate pressure, which they've been reluctant to do, and I don't know how serious that pressure is or leverage they have over the regime in Tehran at the end of the day. It's important to note that Putin is in Beijing right now, and it'd be interesting if even more pressure is applied, or what the conversation is between the two leaders there in Beijing. That might also be helpful to try to get the Iranians to at least begin serious concessions to end this war. The other part of this is perhaps, movement in the ending the war in Ukraine. But right now, all the eyes are on what these two might discuss concerning pressure on Tehran, if any.
Brent, great to have you back. Thank you, sir. Brent and Sadler, kind of waiting for the next shoe to drop, aren't we? Kind of.
So that was pretty interesting. I appreciated that analysis. Let me go to a few of the super chats before we continue, because I know there have been some super chats. So William says that there's even a 14-year incumbent is a bigger problem than his voting record. I mean, yes and no. There are certain people who've been politicians for quite a long time, but so what William is speaking about Massey and Massey being overthrown because he was a 14-year incumbent. I mean, yes and no, it depends. I mean, if you do a good job, I guess you can be there for a while. And, again, as a former politician, I've seen it all. So I've seen politicians who've been around for a very long time who are terrible. And, they're basically in districts in Canada, we call them ridings. They're basically in ridings where, you could run like, I don't know, a cardboard. You could run a piece of cardboard. And if it's the right political party, that cardboard would get elected. So those politicians tend to be a little bit lazier. But then I've also known politicians who've been incumbents for a very long time, and they are still, very passionate about what they do. So, there's good and bad there. But I know Massey was definitely a terrible person. I'm very glad that he has lost his seat. And again, it's no small feat. So I think that's a big deal. It also gives a good indication of where the average American voter is in their head when it comes to President Trump's foreign policy. So keep that in mind. That's the biggest indicator. And that is a way more accurate tell than, polls or things like that. And, polls are always biased, and it always depends on who's conducting the poll, what their sample base is, the sample size, all of that stuff. So ultimately, polls are okay, but the most definitive way to determine where where Americans' heads are at politically is at the ballot box. And Americans made that very clear in the case of Massey. I got a super sticker from General Zubas. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. William says, your videos taught me to stop hating all Muslims. Good. Islamic Muslims were only 2 to 4%. Big difference. I think what you mean is maybe like radical Muslims, like the jihadis. The jihadis are actually 25%. So 25%, of the entire like Muslim population, 20 to 25% of them are actually radical. So it's not 2 to 4%. But yeah, like, you should make a distinction between, people who just practice a certain faith versus Islamic extremist terrorists, because there is a difference. Again, I don't really get into the religious side of things, because that's not what I do. My focus is geopolitics and Islamic terrorism. So yeah, but I mean, there are other channels that talk about like faith and whatever, and, people have their opinions on everything. My opinion is that religion is something private, keep it to yourself. The moment it becomes a problem is when, you use your religion to politicize, right? So that's why jihad and Islamic terrorism is a big problem. And this is why for us Iranians, we always speak out against Islamic terrorists. I mean, some people are saying maybe you meant Iranian Muslims. If you're referring to Iranian Muslims, then yes, that's true. But again, I just in general, I'm not here to comment on religion. I'm here to comment on politics. And political Islam is a reality, and we need to talk about that 100% and raise awareness about that. So I believe in 100% separation between religion and government, and religion should never ever, control or dominate government. Push-ups. I'm late. What did I miss? You missed not a lot because I've kind of gone through everything, and we're still going over some updates. But welcome. You were watching videos of dogs interrupting interviews. Okay, good to know. Cool. I hope they were funny. Welcome. All right. Mark of Reality says the United Nations that actually believe they matter. I agree. The UN is completely useless. Without American money and support, they don't. It's also outdated. India is a major superpower, and therefore they should be permanent members of the Security Council. Yeah, that is an interesting point. Like the UN Security Council has pretty much become completely useless because the UN Security Council is currently in like a Cold War situation with the United States on one side and then Russia and China on the other. So, I mean, I agree. The UN is completely useless. I also believe that that's why President Trump. Oh, sorry. This is the comment. I forgot to share it. I also believe that this is why President Trump has created his Board of Peace, because the Board of Peace is essentially going to the Board of Peace is essentially going to replace the United Nations. Oh, so the person was asking me about my watch. Yes, my watch battery is dead. I mentioned that yesterday. I need to replace the battery. I haven't had time. So yes, my watch battery is dead. I wear it for fashion statement only, for fashion. Push-ups. We need better politicians. I miss Rob. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I hope, Rob rests in peace. God bless his soul. And then we have Mark of Reality. Why is the Ayatollah a supreme leader? Is he covered with all the good pizza toppings? Actually, the reason that he's called the supreme leader is because, it's like a supreme taco, right? So you have a regular taco, and then the supreme taco comes with sour cream and tomatoes. I think my sister actually made a meme about this. Let me see if I can find the meme. Give me one moment here. Where was it? Like, there was like a whole Taco Bell thing here. Yeah, so the supreme dictator comes with he comes with man, let me find it. I can't find it now, guys. Oh my gosh, I'm on the spot now. If my sister's watching, supreme leader. Okay. I can't find it now. But anyways, my sister, go ahead, Pat, if you're watching, send me the link to your, you know what, actually, maybe I can, let me just do this really quick. I'm sure I can find it on her X account. Give me one moment. I can't find it. I can't find it, but I'll find it later. You know what? Now I need to find this. Anyways. Wait. Now I'm on a mission to find this. Oh, I found it. I found it. I found it. Okay, so here's the guys, see? I told when I'm on a mission, I will find it. So, the difference between a regular leader and a supreme leader is that the supreme leader comes with sour cream and tomatoes. So, there you go. I knew I had it somewhere. I knew I had it somewhere. I just had to like find the picture, and I did. So there you go. That's a meme that my sister made. So yeah, that's the supreme leader, right? Because you have like a regular taco, and then you have the taco supreme, right? Regular nachos, nachos supreme. So yeah, that's the difference between regular leader and a supreme leader. I mean, I don't know what the difference is honestly, but if I was going to give an answer, that would be the answer there. So yeah. Okay, and then my final super chat for now is Wiley Coyote. If I didn't know better, Goldie is more aligned with MAGA than Canada. Yes, the UN is a joke. Join US, Goldie, and leave the dark side, Canada. Guys, I can't just move to the United States. I'm not an American citizen, but I'm definitely way more aligned with MAGA. 100% aligned with MAGA because patriotism is really important. And in fact, it's not just like a Goldie thing, right? The vast majority of Iranians are aligned with MAGA. And that's why we have our MIGA movement, right? Make Iran great again, because our movement is all about patriotism. It's about reclaiming the Iranian identity and the Iranian flag, right? Okay, so now I want to go to this update that we have not spoken about, but it is very, very important. Okay, so this is what the US Treasury Department put out today, right? Scott Bessent. And why is this important, guys? Because this once again demonstrates that anyone who thinks the war is over with the Islamic regime, they don't know what they're talking about, and they're not looking at the entire picture. Because again, war is not about military operations. War is psychological, military. It's also economic. And look at this news from the US Treasury Department that came out today that hasn't really made it into the news cycle because there's been, so much other news. It's also primary day in a lot of other states. So let's go through this together. Today, as a part of economic fury, remember, there's epic fury, which is the military boom boom side, and then there's economic fury, which is the economic side. So, as a part of economic fury, Treasury's Office of Foreign Assets Control designated a prominent Iranian foreign currency exchange house and associated front companies that oversee hundreds of millions of dollars in transactions on behalf of sanctioned Iranian banks. Collectively, Iranian exchange houses facilitate billions of dollars in foreign currency transactions each year, enabling the regime and its armed forces to evade sanctions, access the international financial system, and move funds derived from oil and petrochemical sales. Why is this a big deal? Because these, exchange houses, this is a big business, right? And, so in Persian, we call them sadarafi, right? These sadarafis exist everywhere. Guys, even in Canada is full of these, shady exchange houses, and there's so many of them. Let me see if I can find an article. There must be like something. Here we go. Wait, is this one? Okay, so like here's one, for example. Oh my gosh. I hate Canadian media. That's all like... All right, I can't find any right now because Canadian media is messed up. But anyway, so like this is a big deal. Anyways, I wanted to read the actual press statement, the press release from the U.S. Department of Treasury. Because again, we have not seen this in the mainstream media yet, and this is kind of a big deal. So, economic fury targets networks generating billions for Iran's terrorist regime. Action targets more than 50 companies, individuals, and vessels generating revenue for the regime. Washington. Today, as part of economic fury, the U.S. Department of the Treasury's Office of Foreign Assets Control designated a prominent Iranian foreign currency exchange house and associated front companies that oversee hundreds of millions. Actually, let me just change my view here for a moment. There we go. Is this better? No, I'll just keep it here. All right. That exchanges, where is it? Oversee hundreds of millions of dollars in transactions on behalf of sanctioned Iranian banks. Collectively, Iranian exchange houses facilitate billions of dollars in foreign currency transactions each year, enabling the regime and its armed forces to evade sanctions, access the international financial system, and move funds derived from oil and petrochemical sales. OFAC today also blocked 19 vessels in Iranian petroleum and petrochemical shipments to foreign customers, transactions that have generated hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue. Together, today's actions further reduce the revenue available to the Iranian regime to develop weapons, support terrorist proxies, and siphon funds outside Iran for personal enrichment. Iran's shadow banking system facilitates the illicit transfer of funding for terrorist purposes, said Secretary of the Treasury Scott Bessent. As Treasury systematically dismantles Tehran's shadow banking system and shadow fleet under economic fury, financial institutions must be alert to how the regime manipulates the international financial system to wreak havoc. Economic fury delivers maximum pressure on Iran. And guys, keep in mind, remember, the policy that the Iranian people and, of course, His Royal Highness Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi have always called for is maximum pressure on the Islamic regime and maximum support for the Iranian people. So these sanctions are another element and another aspect of maximum pressure. The Treasury Department is maintaining maximum pressure on Iran, they mean the Islamic regime, and targeting the regime's ability to generate, move, and repatriate funds. Treasury is aggressively advancing economic fury and has disrupted billions in projected oil revenue, taken actions that have led to the freezing of nearly $500 million in regime-linked cryptocurrency, and cracked down on Tehran's shadow banking networks. In addition, Treasury has resigned networks supplying weapons and other military components to Iran. Treasury has also sanctioned a corrupt Iraqi official who has, guys, it's always the Iraqis. Do you know why? Do you know why it's always the Iraqis? Because the Islamic regime, like, they come from Najaf, they come from Iraq. Like, some of them come, like half of them come from like Najaf and Iraq, and the other half come from like Lebanon, because the Shias all originated in Lebanon and they came to Iran 400 years ago. So it's always the Iraqi officials. And you know, the guy that the FBI arrested yesterday, the Kataib Hezbollah, whatever dude, that was, you know, the Iran-backed terrorist. He was also Iraqi. He's also from Adal, right? All these terrorists, they're not even Iranian. They're literally from like all the other countries. Yeah, they're all the Tazis. They're the Tazi Toms. Exactly, right? So there you go. Corrupt Iraqi official who has facilitated the sale of oil along with Iran-backed militias operating in Iraq. Treasury will vigorously target both traditional sanctions, evasion schemes, and the exploitation of digital assets while continuing to freeze funds stolen from the Iranian people. This is amazing, right? So they're making it very clear that they're freezing all the funds stolen from the Iranian people. So this lets me know that there is a plan for the day after the Islamic regime falls, right? Like everything that the United States is doing is they're literally preparing for the day after the Islamic regime falls, because the reason that they're freezing the funds for the Iranian people is because they are anticipating that there will come a day sooner rather than later that the Islamic regime will be overthrown, and all of these funds, all of this money that has been stolen by the Islamic regime that actually belongs to the Iranian people, this will all go back to the Iranian people. These are the nuances in messaging that a lot of people don't really think about. So let's continue. Treasury is also prepared to take action against any foreign company supporting illicit Iranian commerce, including airlines, and, as necessary, may impose secondary sanctions on foreign financial institutions that facilitate Iran's activities, including those connected to the People's Republic of China's independent teapot oil refineries. Boom. Remember, I literally made a video a few days ago where I explained why President Trump took Scott Bessent to China, right? It wasn't about appeasement. The reason that President Trump took Scott Bessent to China is because he was sending China a very strong message that your behind the scenes shenanigans with the Islamic regime are over, right? And that they're no longer going to tolerate China's shenanigans with the Islamic regime. And if you want to watch that video, let me just pull it up really quickly so I can share it with you. So on my YouTube channel, it's, just go to my channel, and it's literally Goldie Unfiltered. And it's this one: Trump's China trip was not appeasement. Here's why. And I have a whole section where I talk about Scott Bessent. So there you go, guys. Right there, right? President Trump taking Scott to China was a big message. Oops. Let me fix this here. What happened to my screen? Anyways, that was a big message. All right, let's continue. Through the blockade, the Trump administration is directly targeting the regime's primary revenue stream. Any person or vessel facilitating the illicit trade of oil or other commodities through covert trade or financial channels risks exposure to U.S. sanctions. Today's action is being taken pursuant to Executive Order 13902, which targets persons operating in Iran's financial, petroleum, or petrochemical sectors. These designations build on a series of OFAC actions targeting Iran's shadow banking mechanisms, including exchange houses, Iranian bank Rahbar companies, digital asset exchanges, and facilitators used to evade sanctions. Additionally, the U.S. Department of State's Rewards for Justice program is offering a reward of up to $15 million for information leading to the disruption of financial mechanisms of Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and its various branches. More information is available on the RFJ website. Guys, we need to check this out. Maybe we should do some digging around, and maybe we could find some info, and then we could guys, let's find some info. I'll share the $15 million with you. Let's look at that after. So, Amin Exchange. The Iranian regime's shadow banking networks are composed of numerous exchange houses that oversee a sprawling network of foreign front companies, which allows sanctioned Iranian banks and their respective Rahbar companies to facilitate receipt of funds from Iran's overseas sales of oil and petrochemicals, among other goods. Iran-based Ebrahimi and Associates Partnership Company, commonly known as Amin Exchange, is a significant player in Iran's foreign exchange market and has facilitated hundreds of millions of dollars in foreign transactions for sanctioned Iranian persons. Amin Exchange has collaborated with sanctioned Iranian banks and petrochemical exporters to include the National Iranian Oil Company, Persian Gulf Petrochemical Industry Commercial Company, and Trilliance Petrochemical Co. Limited. Amin Exchange maintains a widespread network of front companies spanning multiple jurisdictions, including in the UAE. Of course, guys, remember UAE. Guys, have I not been telling you that the United Arab Emirates is one of the hubs of Islamic regime financial transactions? Guys, the UAE has facilitated the Islamic regime avoiding American sanctions for the last 47 years. The only reason they're speaking out now is because they've been attacked by the Islamic regime. And that's really interesting because yesterday President Trump said, at the request of the UAE, I've delayed the attack. And now Scott Bessent is literally calling out the UAE, right? Scott Bessent is saying that the UAE is one of the states that has been supporting the Islamic regime and has been allowing the Islamic regime to funnel money through the UAE in order to evade American sanctions, right? So UAE, Turkey, yeah, of course we know, like Turkey, because Turkey's, Muslim Brotherhood, and Hong Kong. Of course, Hong Kong is one of the hubs because, of course, that's the CCP. These front companies conduct cross-border money laundering activities to support sanctioned Iranian importers or exporters, making them indispensable to Iran's banking sector. Did you catch that? So the UAE, the United Arab Emirates, has been indispensable to Iran's banking sector. Turkish, Iranian, and Dominican national Yusuf Ebrahimi owns and operates Amin Exchange. Ebrahimi is aided by Iranian national Samad Nemati, Amin Exchange's current chief executive officer, a former sorry guys. Okay. So Samad Nemati is not only Amin Exchange's current CEO, he's also a former Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps officer, IRGC. So guys, remember when we say that the IRGC is involved in everything, this is what we're talking about, right? Because the IRGC controls everything when it comes to the Islamic regime and Iran, right? Turkey, of course, Turkey-based Iran national Ali Hazrati Chacherlu, who serves on Amin Exchange's board. Turkish and Iranian national Mahmoud Ebrahimi, the brother of Yusuf Ebrahimi, also serves as an employee of Amin Exchange. Senior shadow banking network officials, including exchange house owners and their families, routinely maintain multiple foreign citizenships, often obtained from offshore jurisdictions through citizenship by investment schemes. These foreign identity documents, which can cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, allow such individuals to travel freely and establish new companies overseas. They also demonstrate how shadow banking personnel personally enrich themselves and live lavishly at the expense of the Iranian people. This is so true, and we have been raising awareness about this for quite a long time, right? Think about all of the children of the Islamic regime that live lavish lives in Western countries and Western societies. All of it is based off of the stolen money of the Iranian people, money that is covered in blood. Ibrahimi and Associates Partnership Company is being designated pursuant to Executive Order 13902 for operating in the financial sector of the Iranian economy. Yusuf Ebrahimi, Samad Nemati, Ali Hazrati Chakirlu, and Mahmoud Ibrahimi are being designated pursuant to Executive Order 13902 for being owned or controlled by or having acted or purported to act for or on behalf of, directly or indirectly, Ibrahimi and Associates Partnership Company. OFAC is also designating the following front companies, all of whom are involved in Amin exchanges, financial activities, and other sanctions evasions activities, to include facilitating payments for shipments related to Iranian petroleum, petrochemical, metals, manufacturing, and automobile industries. Guys, so all of these industries are controlled by the Islamic regime. Literally every single industry in Iran is owned, controlled, or operated by the Islamic regime. That's because the Islamic regime is a totalitarian dictatorship, right? They just basically take everything, and the only people who are successful are those who are part of the regime, part of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, or, friends and family of the IRGC. The below entities are being designated pursuant to Executive Order 13902 for operating in the financial sector of the Iranian economy. Wow, look at this. China-based company Ningbo Jiari Trading Co., Hong Kong-based Starshine Petrochemical, Hong Kong-based Vigorous Trading Limited. Oh, look at this. UAE-based companies. UAE-based Aliin Goods Wholesalers, Bolt Trading, and Materium Group. Look at this. Look at these three United Arab Emirates companies that are being sanctioned by the United States because they have been helping out the Islamic regime, and they have been helping the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps evade American sanctions and helping to steal the money of the Iranian people to fund terrorism. There you go. And then, of course, two more Hong Kong-based companies, Best Fortuna and Changpan Co. And guys, I'm telling you right now, there is literally no way that the government of the UAE is not aware of this. The government of the UAE knows full well what's going on. They've just decided to, look the other way. Anyways, it continues on. It's pretty long. And then, so there's a whole list of Shadow Fleet actors. So there's, a ship from Barbados, Palau. Where's Palau? Where's Palau? That sounds like somewhere in the Indonesian Ocean. Where's Palau? Am I right about that? Yeah, I think I'm right. Yeah, it's like Micronesia. Yeah, Western Pacific Ocean. Okay, yeah, so it's somewhere in that Australia, Indonesia area. And let me pull up on a map. That's kind of interesting now. Where is this place? Huh. Let's find it on a map. Let's see. Yeah, okay, that's what I thought, right? So I said I was kind of like the Indonesia area. So yeah, there's Indonesia right there. And then this little red dot is Palau. So wow, there you go. Look at that. This tiny little ship that's, close to it's like in the that's what I thought. Like it was like in the Indonesia area-ish place. So okay, so that's one of the ships that has been sanctioned. Wait. Where's the rest of the article? Here we go. All right, let's continue. So, yeah, Oceania. Okay, so there's Palau. Where were we? And then Panama, Hong Kong, Panama, San Marino, Cameroon, Comoros, Gabon, Palau, Panama, Vanuatu, Cameroon, the Cook Islands, Panama, Sierra Leone, and Hong Kong. There you go. The following persons are being designated pursuant to Executive Order 13902 for operating in the petroleum or petrochemical sectors of the Iranian economy. And then there's, a whole bunch of businesses here. Sanctions implications. All property and interests in property of the persons described above that are in the United States or in the possession or control of U.S. persons are blocked and must be reported to the OFAC. In addition, any entities that are owned directly or indirectly, individually, or in the aggregate, 50% or more by one or more blocked persons are also blocked. Unless authorized by OFAC or exempt, OFAC's regulations generally prohibit all transactions by U.S. persons or within or transiting the United States that involve any property or interests in property of blocked persons. Then basically talks about what happens if you violate that. So there's a little update on the Treasury side of things. Now, guys, I actually want to share a piece of news with you that I find absolutely unbelievable. And I would think that as an American, like if I was American, I would also be very, very angry at this news. So it has come to my attention that FIFA has actually banned the Lion and Sun flag from World Cup stadiums. So FIFA is being held in the United States this year, and FIFA has just unilaterally decided that they're going to ban Iranians from waving the Lion and Sun flag at the World Cup stadiums. And this is a decision that they're making in the United States. And I find this absolutely unbelievable because this is actually a big, big deal. And if we go to actually, let me during the last time FIFA was held, it was in Qatar, and Iranians went with the Lion and Sun flag to Qatar, even though Qatar is a terrorist state and they're aligned with the Islamic regime. Iranians still took the Lion and Sun flag to FIFA stadiums in Qatar. However, now apparently FIFA has made the decision that at their World Cup games in the United States, they're banning the pre-revolutionary Iran flag, but the Palestinian flag is allowed. So FIFA is literally supporting Islamic terrorism, right? So this news just came out. World Cup fans are banned from bringing in pre-revolutionary Iran flags and apparel to stadiums this summer, while the controversial Palestinian flag will be allowed. So the jihadis with like a made-up country, like they don't even have a country, right? It's just a bunch of like savage jihadis. They can bring their like fake Durka flag with them, but the Lion and Sun flag, which is the real flag of Iran, this is actually banned. FIFA has ruled items with the symbolism will not be permitted at this year's iteration of the globe's most famous soccer tournament, The Athletic reported on Tuesday. FIFA says the flag violates their code of conduct, which states banners, flags, flyers, apparel, and other paraphernalia that are of a political, offensive, and or discriminatory nature will not be allowed at event venues. Wow. I mean, I guess FIFA is afraid of, I don't know, offending terrorists or something. I don't know, right? So there you go. By the way, these are Iranians, you know, like whenever there's a football match, I believe this was Qatar 4 years ago. So Iranians, you know, always take lion and sun flags because that is our flag. But FIFA apparently is, you know, taking the side of Islamic terrorists. And I cannot believe that they're making this decision in the United States, right? United States is supposed to be a free country, and yet FIFA thinks that they can dictate to Americans and, you know, American citizens what they can and can't do. So apparently the flag of Palestine, which is like the fake made up flag of like a fake made up country, that's not a political symbol. That's allowed. But the lion and sun flag of Iran, that apparently is offensive, right? It's offensive to the jihadis and terrorists. So there you go. The Palestinian flag is an officially approved flag of a member association of FIFA. Emel Karsaz, an Iranian living in LA who describes herself as Iranian American advocate for freedom in Iran, told the California Post on Tuesday that she's not expecting FIFA's ban to change much. She says she believes the Iranian soccer team is basically representing the IRGC, which it is. Armin and I spoke about this in a previous live stream. And yeah, like the men's soccer team is pretty much supporting the Islamic regime. And the men's soccer team does not represent the people. And she's anticipating Iranians to show up to matches with the pre-revolutionary flags en masse. I'm sure it's going to make everyone so angry that I'll bet you anything there's going to be a huge protest. Probably. Guys, I'm livid right now. Like, I'm so angry right now that I want to find out when these matches are happening, and I want to be there, and I want to go with, like, my lion and sun flag and just walk around and wave it, right? Like, why the heck is FIFA trying to silence Iranians when we're literally being murdered every single day? Like, shame on FIFA. The Iranians will do anything in their power to basically come to the protest and tell the world that they are not our team. Iran and U.S. policy expert Kanim Sajjadpour of the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace echoed Karsaz's opinion during an interview with The Atlantic. Trying to prohibit Iranians in LA from bringing the lion and sun flag into the stadium is like trying to prevent Americans from bringing the U.S. flag into an American stadium. It would cause mass unrest. Pre-revolutionary Iran imagery contains a lion holding a sword and a sun over a green, white, and red striped background. In 1980, following the Islamic Revolution, the country adopted a new national image which features an Islamic emblem over the same green, white, and red bars. FIFA has banned the old Iranian imagery before. At the 2022 World Cup in Qatar, fans bearing attire with the lion and sun on it were turned away, according to The Athletic. However, they still snuck in. Look at this guy. Like, look, like these are the freaking jihadis. These are like the Durka jihadi Islamic terrorists, right? The outlet states the pre-revolutionary imagery is often displayed at public events by those in the Iranian diaspora as a symbol of identity and protest. The World Cup kicks off next month in Canada, Mexico, and the US. Iran will open its group stage slate of games against New Zealand on June 15 at the SoFi Stadium in LA. So there you go. In you know, the latest news about, you know, who else in the world is against Iranians? FIFA, right? It's not enough that we have the Islamic regime murdering us. It's not enough that, you know, the United Nations hates us. It's not enough that the, you know, Democrats and the jihadis and the Palestinians and the woke left and the communists and the Marxists and the Antifas. It's not enough that they're all against us. Now, FIFA is now also against Iranian freedom. FIFA is also trying to silence Iranian voices who are speaking out against the Islamic regime, right? So there you go. You know what? I never expected to put FIFA on the list of organizations that support Islamic terrorism and organizations that, support the brutal oppression, murder, rape, and torture of the Iranian people. But there we go. There we are. So that's FIFA for you. All right, I'm going to go to the rest of the super chats, and then I'm going to call it a night. But I will, but stay tuned because my video will be published as soon as my live stream is done. And that video is going to go into a little bit more in depth on why I think the Islamic regime is falling. And again, here is the thumbnail for my upcoming video. So the first super chat I have here is from I See Licious. Go Mega, move to Alberta. They will be a state soon. Yeah, I'm not getting involved in the whole Canadian separatism issue whatsoever. But yeah, Alberta is a great state, and I love Albertans. I mean, I love all Canadians. I don't really think the issue is with Canadians necessarily. It's just with the Canadian government and, like, of course, some of the people who vote for them. But yeah, we have some serious issues in Canada when it comes to, like, the woke left. Next, we have Tao Fei. Move to Alberta. When they join us down here, you will automatically become a U.S. citizen. Problem solved, Javi Show. Okay, guys. All right. If I get the sense that Alberta is going to become the next American state, I'll move to Alberta. How about that? I'll make that promise. Then, easy peasy, I can become an American citizen that way. Great suggestion. Saber Coaching. Hi Goldie, من یه petition set up کردم راجع به FIFA. Messaged you the link on X and Insta. Can send here. لطفاً ببین و لطفاً share کن. سپاس عزیز. Okay, I will. If you can do me a favor, because I get so many like messages and DMs. Guys, I don't check like my DMs on Insta or X or anything like that because I'm just constantly bombarded and it becomes way too overwhelming. And I just like, if I was going to check my DMs all day, I would never be able to do anything else. But Saber Coaching, if you can, if you could add the link to the FIFA petition as a comment under my live stream on X, because I am live streaming this this show right now on X. So you can go find it there. Add the link as a comment under my live stream on X, and then I'll take a look at that, and I'm more than happy to share that. Thank you so much. Next, we have a comment from Omid. Warning to all those living abroad, propagating regime narratives like Azadeh Yazdi, daughter of IRGC founder, you will be caught from the funding trail. I agree. There are a lot of children of Islamic regime officials who live outside of Iran. They live in the United States and elsewhere, and they basically just promote and propagate Islamic regime propaganda because that's where their money comes from. That's where their money comes from. Wiley Coyote, China's Xi talked tough on Taiwan because he has to, just like the IRGC has to talk tough. They know that failure equals death. I absolutely agree with that. And if you go back and you watch my video about President Trump's trip to China, I actually do speak about Taiwan, and I make it very clear that one of the reasons that President Trump took Marco Rubio with him was because of the fact that Marco Rubio takes a very, very strong stance against China when it comes to Taiwan, and Marco Rubio is very much in favor of keeping Taiwan free from China. So that's one of the other reasons that President Trump took Marco Rubio with him to China. But yes, I agree with you on that point 100%. Melissa Joy Cat Lady, how can they do that? This is America. I agree. How can they do that? This is America. So they're basically going to argue that attending, like the legal case that they're going to be making, and again, former lawyer, so this is not legal advice, it's just legal information. I have to put a disclaimer out there because I'm not practicing right now. But the legal argument that FIFA is going to make is that this is a private event. It's not a public space, right? The stadium is not openly accessible to the public. Because it's not openly accessible to the public, it's a private space, it's a private event, it's a private venue. Therefore, they're entitled to put out, make whatever rules they want to, because it is a private event, and that's their right. So hopefully we can raise enough awareness and raise enough noise about this to maybe hopefully get the attention of President Trump and his administration. And hopefully President Trump can speak out and say some things. So I actually plan on making a video about the whole FIFA fiasco tomorrow as well. Yeah, we need to raise awareness. We need to raise some noise, because I think this is horrible. This is horrible because the hypocrisy and the double standard is real, and it is very, very unfortunate that FIFA is choosing to side with a brutal totalitarian Islamic dictatorship, and it's choosing to side with Islamic terrorism over freedom. So there you go. Yeah, it's a tough world. It's a tough world for us Iranians. We've been fighting this. We've been fighting this sort of nonsense and propaganda for 47 years, and it seems never ending. But I know that we're close to the finish line. And I do believe that we're at the beginning of the end. So yeah, guys, thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. I hope that you enjoyed tonight's live stream. And I will see you guys tomorrow for Iran Revolution Live. And if I decide, guys, I promise you I will not watch the Senate committee hearing. This one here. Let me pull it up. I will not watch this without you. So I might actually watch this, probably not tomorrow morning, but I might make a separate live stream and do like a live stream watch party after Iran Revolution Live tomorrow, because I really, really do want to watch this. It is 3 hours long, but I think it's totally going to be worth it. And I'm probably going to have a lot to say on this. So stay tuned for that. Make sure that your notifications are turned on. And yeah, we'll see you guys tomorrow. Thank you, everyone. And as always, be safe, be well. Payande Iran and Javid Shah.
Talking of peace, but you know how it ends. Smiles for the cameras, deals in the light, but truth disappears somewhere out of sight. Mullahs behind it, controlling the flow. You shake hands with fire, but you already know. They're reaching high. From cells to the shadows, their voices still grow, dreaming of a future they don't even know. Deals at the top while the pressure runs low, and down below the fear continues to grow. Deal with the devil, you know what it costs. Promises fade while the lines get crossed. Deal with the devil, you hear their call, voices in chains still rise and fall. deal.